The official Xbox VR headset is finally coming, and we also got some huge news from Meta that will change virtual reality forever. So let's dive right into it. After a very long wait, Microsoft has officially announced that they are working on an Xbox VR headset together with Meta. And this is all thanks to Meta's big industry-altering announcement, because they are now going full open source with their Quest operating system to third-party devices. That means that any company that wants to make a VR headset can use the Meta Horizon OS, which can be compared to how Android works on different types of phones. But the biggest shock with this was, of course, that Xbox wanted to collaborate with Meta on creating a limited edition VR headset, which is something that a lot of users have been waiting for a very long time. And they even showed us a concept of what this Xbox VR headset would look like, clearly showcasing its distinctive black and green colors, as well as playing Xbox games directly on it. So let's talk about all the official details that we know so far. First of all, they made very clear that the Xbox VR headset would be comparable to a limited edition version of the Quest lineup. That means that hardware-wise, it will be very similar to the Quest 3 or the next generation VR headsets from Meta. Besides, Zuckerberg also confirmed that it will include an Xbox gamepad inside the box. And this is of course done since their previous collaboration already brought Xbox Cloud Gaming to the Meta Quest headsets. And by including the controller in the box, it would let people play Xbox games on a large 2D screen inside mixed reality. But while this was already possible on any Quest 3, the limited edition Xbox VR headset might take this a step further, because until now, they haven't made any VR headset in the past. On top of that, a lot of other big companies like Asus and Lenovo will now also be making their own VR headsets, thanks to them going full open source with their Meta Horizon OS. But most eyes are of course fixed on Xbox to see what else they might announce in the future. Because just imagine how cool it would be if we could actually play some big games like Halo inside virtual reality and it not just being on a 2D screen in front of you. But Meta also made very clear that while they are working with other companies on creating some amazing VR headsets, they will still be continuing to make their own Quest lineup, which makes this whole action look even more like they really want to be the Android of virtual reality. Especially now that Apple is also working on their own VR stuff. And who knows, now that PlayStation as well as Xbox are finally inside virtual reality, maybe some other big gaming companies like Nintendo might also release their own VR headset in the near future. But it seemed that Meta was not done yet, because next to their big announcement, they also put out a new Quest update that brings in loads of new features and improvements. Firstly, you can now upload spatial videos as well as panoramas from your iPhone to your Quest headset. And since this is also a main feature of the Apple Vision Pro, it seems that the Quest 3 is trying to duplicate this wherever possible. And the second update is the full pass-through. That means that your mixed reality view from your outside environment can now be used in your entire VR experience. While beforehand, certain interfaces like the lock screen or the power off menu would always still show you a VR void. While now, you can remain entirely inside mixed reality from the moment you put your Meta Quest 3 on until the moment you put it down again. And finally, this update also brought some big improvements in mouse and keyboard support, because this was a significant problem when trying to use your Quest for productivity in the past. But luckily, it now reduces the accidental activation of hand tracking gestures when using physical mouse and keyboards. And this is regardless if your keyboard is connected to the headset itself, meaning the improvements also apply when using a PC through remote display. But the crazy VR news just doesn't seem to stop, because the big company known as Cat VR, who are also known to create VR treadmills that look like they come straight out of Ready Player One, are now taking VR once again to the absolute next level. Because while we are normally limited by the space and boundary system inside our virtual reality experience, Cat VR has been creating VR treadmills that let you run, crouch, and jump without having to worry about any limitations of your surroundings. And since their most recent version, known as the C2 VR2 core is compatible with nearly any VR headset. It is often also considered as the dream upgrade for any VR setup. They even go so far that for those hardcore fans, they also have high-end models with things like haptic feedback as well as a vehicle hub integrated with it, making it feel even more realistic when you're driving a car or plane inside VR. And to make it even better, you can also use the code VRelity to get a $130 discount on your purchase. So for those who are interested, I'll leave a link in the description below. But that gets us to the VR game news, with Cube VR quickly becoming one of the most popular VR games of all time. Also often referred to as Minecraft with 8K textures, this sandbox game looks absolutely stunning. From its fully destructible world, as well as its dynamic weather and 3D crafting system, it is the visuals that also look very promising. And with loads of updates still down the line, like sword fighting, climbing, as well as multiplayer support, there is still a lot to look forward to. But at the moment, it is only available for PlayStation VR 2 and PC VR. So for those who own a Quest 3 or other VR headset from Meta, you might have to wait just a bit longer. But another game that recently got released is Chaos Mages, which is a physics-based spellcasting and sword-fighting adventure. And they also just released their first major update, which created a complete weapon overhaul, as well as a faster-paced and improved sound design, where you can now master over 200 spells and tackle loads of foes and fearsome bosses, with its key feature being the deep magic system that lets you be creative in how you obliterate and attack your opponents, while also having some dynamic combat that will face you off against unique enemies, with each requiring their own different strategy to defeat, and with new levels down the pipeline, as well as a full global localization coming soon. I'm looking forward to how far the developers can take this game. And also, none other than the Quest exclusive known as Stride Fates is now seeing its release on PlayStation VR 2 and PC VR as well. This action parkour game is a must-play for many users, with its adrenaline-pumping campaign, as well as very polished and good-looking gameplay. It is no surprise to see that it is now also releasing on other platforms. But it won't just be a direct port of the Quest standalone version, with the developers confirming that it will have some big visual improvements, as well as a 19 frames per second performance mode. But that's not all, because there are some other must-play VR games for your Quest 3. So click on the video that you see on screen right now to make sure you don't miss out. And of course, stay awesome.